Attention, incoming transmission detected. This transmission has been authorized by the 69th Potato Squadron. Please stand by to receive 69th Potato Squadron transmission. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Transmission initiation sequence is now activated.
Hey, what's going on, fellow captains? It's Muse. We have some things to discuss. So, patch notes came back a few days ago. Everyone's kind of dropped their videos on them already. I have had to hold off because this is something that has very much aggravated me. Not for the reasons you may think, and we're going to discuss that. Before we start getting into things, I would like to say I know a lot of people over at Wargaming. I have a reputation of being a stand for Wargaming. People say, you know, I defend everything they do. So, with all that said, I'm going to ask people if, you know, something that I talk about in this video makes you some kind of way. If you go into Wargaming's Discord, their pages, their anything, please be respectful and represent my audience well. There's no reason to be uncivil about things. So yeah, just be respectful in any conversations that you have over this. I know this is going to be a hot take. Not a lot of the community agrees with me. Most of the community hates CVs, so they absolutely love this. So I'm going to be kind of one of the only voices out there that is against this. And the reasons I'm against it isn't it's going to nerf carriers into the ground. In fact, this update is going to do quite the opposite. It's actually going to break carriers and make them absolute monsters. You know, people asked for certain things, and you know, there's the old saying, be careful what you wish for, and people are going to get something they are not expecting. Basically, you've traded the fact that a carrier can spot you for a carrier being an absolute unrelenting monster. And we will discuss why and how that is. So let's go ahead and start taking a look at things. And before we do anything else, I want to go to the Naval Institute website and look at what they have to say about what carriers do and what their role is in naval warfare. So let's hop over there. As you can see, it's the U.S. Naval Institute website. And it's going to be an article by Lieutenant Commander John A. Collett of the U.S. Navy. It's titled, "The Aircraft Carrier, the Backbone of Aero-Sea Warfare." So, the article, it looks like it was originally published December 1942. So that's some of these stats that are going to be listed are for those air of carriers and planes, which are the air and of carriers and planes in the game, right? So let's just read this first line, and this is all we're going to get into is literally the first line of this. There's a whole article, sites right there if you would like to go look the article up. But let's just read this first line. An aircraft carrier is a ship whose main battery, the air group, can fire 150 to 200 miles with devastating accuracy, and whose lookouts can clearly see the same distance under average weather conditions. So just in the first line alone, we've got the premise of carriers. So one, they are a long-range attack, and two, they are extremely good at observations and reconnaissance. Right? That's what that says. This lieutenant commander of the U.S. Navy in December 1942, right after Pearl Harbor, is saying carriers are good for long-range attacks and for observations and reconnaissance. Right? That's what that says. I'm not, you know. So let's go look at the changes. You know, let's see, because you know this has got to make sense, right? This is, we've brought carriers into the game. They should do what carriers do doctrinally. So let's take a look at the changes that we have here. So mechanical changes. The very first one, air spotting and detection. Spotting enemy ships from the air has received a big change. Aerial spotting is now considered a new type of spotting, blah, 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 blah. Basically, we've removed where an aircraft carrier can now spot for the team, is the gist of this. So, going back to observation and reconnaissance, we've completely removed that from carriers, which it is fundamentally, when the very first naval aviation groups came to exist, the first thing they used them for was observation and reconnaissance. It's one of the primary functions of a carrier, and we're taking it out of the game. The reason we're taking it out is because we don't want to deal with what the actual problem is. And the actual problem, and we're going to get into this in a moment, is AA. It's not carriers. Carriers are not OP. It's the AA in this game is completely broken, and we're going to break that down in a moment. So we've removed one of the primary functions of carriers doctrinally. This is a thing they do. And people say, oh, it's for the balancing of the game. Well, we could have balanced the game through AA. And we'll show how broken AA is here in just a moment. And that would have balanced the issue, wouldn't it have? But instead, we're going to take away one of the primary things a carrier does. One of the primary things a carrier brings to a naval warfare group. We're going to just take that away from carriers because, you know, that makes perfect sense. That's apparently how we fix things is, you know, make them do not what they actually did in real life. And again, we're just, you're taking away the spotting, but we're going to show why you're turning carriers into just unstoppable beasts. Like, you think the carrier problem was bad up till now? Wait till tomorrow. Wait till tomorrow. So the next one's hangar size and regeneration. This is just in my mind, just a balancing thing. So it doesn't affect strategically or doctrinally what the CV does in a match. So I don't have any issue with this. This is just pure balancing right here in my mind. Cost and earnings, again, pure balance. So I'm not even concerned with that. Squadron speed. This one's a biggie. This is the cheat code right here. This is what's really going to break this game come tomorrow. We're going to get more into that in a moment, so I'm not going to address it too much right now. But yeah, this is going to be devastating. You've traded spotting for just... Part of this will go back to the broken AA system, and we're going to address all that in just a moment. Changes to dive bombers, again, just purely balancing in my mind. It doesn't really affect doctrinally how the CVs operate. Skip bomb, same thing. Big change to the Serovs and the Pobitas, but it doesn't doctrinally affect what they're doing. Adjustment to squadron size and HP, again, just a balancing thing. And then we have the flight time limit for fuel. So this one is going to be another big one, doctrinally. So we go back to the Naval Institute here, and we go back to Lieutenant Commander John A. Kolitz. Little memorandum here, and an aircraft carrier is a ship whose main battery, the air group, can fire 150 to 200 miles with devastating accuracy. Oh. What does that say? That says range. That says you play at range. So going back to this, the entire reason for this is to nerf the range of carriers. Now, this is going to depend on how much of a limit there is to their range, because yes, you don't want carriers at the back of the map the whole game, but also carriers are not made to go in and brawl with surface ships. And if you look at just about any engagement from World War II involving carriers, they weren't going out to get into a close range brawl with surface ships. In fact, if surface ships were spotted, that was considered a major threat, and most likely your carriers would retreat. So depending on what the limit is, and how close carriers are going to have to get to be effective, it is how much I disagree with this right here. So this one is conditional based on what that's actually going to look like in game. If a carrier's literally got to be like right up on top of the surface ships to get effective strikes, then it's wrong. It's wrong. Carriers are meant to be at range. That is doctrinally how they operate. And again, rather than making this change that makes 0 sense, we could have changed AA and solved the whole carrier problem. So since we've discussed the topic of AA a couple times with these, because it could have fixed this one right here, and it could have fixed this one down here, that's going to be the next thing that we get into. As far as changes that don't make sense, though, you know, there's a number of them in this game that I don't understand. They don't make sense. You know, the spotting thing. Well, I don't. Like, people getting their feelings hurt because a carrier that spotted them, like, that's what a carrier does. And something similar to that, and I've talked about it in other videos, is the radar thing. And the nerf to radar to where it's 5 seconds before your team can see something that you radar. Now, let's talk about why that is stupid and doesn't make sense. I play a lot of radar cruisers. So if I push into radar a DD, when I'm spotted, his team can immediately see me and immediately fire at me. So if he has 2 New Jerseys back behind him, I can be immediately deleted. But my team can't see him for 5 seconds. How is that fair? How is that fair that I can be immediately deleted? It's okay for the radar cruiser to get shit on, but not the DD. Gotta keep, you know, your DDs happy, right? It's really stupid. Like, if you're gonna give me a 5-second delay when I radar a DD, then give that DD the same delay when he spots me. Give me 5 seconds to get out of there. That would be fair, right? That would be fair. Add a 5-second delay to spotting so I have time to do something to preserve myself rather than just immediately be dev struck as soon as he spots me. And that makes 0 sense to have it that way. I don't even agree with the 5-second delay. Like, that is situational awareness. That's opening your rosters at the beginning of the game and looking and seeing who has radar, what DDs are in the game, what concealments they might have, and then figuring out where those ships are on the map, and then playing accordingly to that. Like, if I'm a DD and I open the team rosters and I see 3 radar ships, first thing I want to do is know where those 3 radar ships are. And if I don't, and I just go pushing in willy-nilly, I deserve to be deleted immediately when I'm radared. Just like, apparently, radar cruisers deserve to be deleted as soon as a DD with, you know, sub 5 kilometer concealment spots me. Like, what's fair is fair. So yeah, moving on to the AA discussion here. How broken AA is in this game and why that's the issue and not this stuff. Why this stuff could have been left alone and we could have just fixed AA and solved the entire carrier problem. Let's go take a look at it. So we're going to go over to WoWs Builds. Our friends over here at WoWs Builds, once again. So we've have it filtered to where we just see the AA DPS of ships. We're going to start with tier 3. We're going to start with destroyers. Let's get it in order there. So we're going from highest to lowest. Look at the AA DPS. Look at how abysmal this is. Like, how are these guys defending themselves from a carrier? They're not. Let's go take a look at the cruisers. Look at how abysmal that is. How are these guys defending themselves? They're not. Like, Yubari is the highest with a 55. And Yubari, I play Yubari quite a bit. It can't, it's not going to instantly stop a carrier. Like, if the guy wants to drop me, he's going to drop me. And there's nothing I can do about it. And that's the highest at the tier. Let's take a look at the battleships. So Wyoming is the highest with 113, followed by the Kaiser with 96, and then we drop off drastically. Once you get to about here, the Orion, these guys can't defend themselves from carriers. They have fucking zero chance. Zero chance of defending themselves. These guys, these 5 down here, don't even have AA. So you're telling me we can doctrinally change the function of carriers to balance the game, but we can't give AA to ships that historically didn't have it because that would break the game. How does that make sense? Wargaming. How does that make sense? Just give these fucking guys some AA. Increase AA across the board.
Sorry.
Tune it up. Give people more range, more DPS. Make carriers make the choice of, if I want to drop this guy, I'm going to lose planes. That's simple. That's simple. That's how you solve the whole carrier problem, is fix your AA. And on top of just not having AA, there's the other problem, which we're going to address when we talk about how broken AA really is. Another problem with the AA, the matchmaker. Ships with high AA or AA builds should automatically be prioritized into games with CVs. Like, it is so ridiculous. I can't tell you the amount of times I've put AA builds on ships, and then 20 battles in a row not see a carrier. And then the moment I take the AA build off, I change the modules, I change the commander, carrier every single match. That almost suggests to me that you have it the exact opposite way it should be. That non-AA ships are prioritized into carrier matches as opposed to AA ships being prioritized into carrier matches.
Okay, after this we can do copper again. Enough.
If you want to deal with the carrier problem, that's the solution that makes sense. Is to deal with the AA in the game, the broken AA. The AA ships that people don't run because they're not going to see a carrier. I guarantee you, if you put AA ships into carrier matches, more people would run AA builds. Do you know how dog poop it is to take an AA, a full AA build ship, and just match after match after match get non-carrier matches? It's a waste of stat lines. So why would people do it? And then you wonder why carriers are running around, you know, causing havoc, because there's not enough AA. The AA isn't tuned up enough. The matchmaking doesn't help at all. And then on top of that, let's go address it. We might as well. We'll come back to this. Let's go address it. This right here. This is what's going to break the game, folks. Squadron speed. So we are giving planes more speed, and we are taking away the cooldown so that they can just run at full speed indefinitely. How does that break the game? So, for any of your good carrier players, they know that speed, the AA in the game does not track fast planes well. So speed is how you avoid AA. So since we're making planes faster and we're taking away, you know, any chance of them slowing down, you've literally basically made them invulnerable. Can you know, planes at full speed still be hit? Yes. But somebody that knows what they're doing is going to be able to drop your most baddest AA ship in the game, and there's nothing that AA ship can do about it until after they've been dropped. So yeah, this is going to break the game for people that know what they're doing. So You know, I'm just going to put it out there because I hope people do it, because I've been screaming about AA needs to be fixed for a long time. And for some reason, we think these crappy changes that we've made are going to fix the carrier problem. You've just made it worse. You've just made it worse. And let me tell you how it's going to play out. One, because you're limiting the range. It's going to force carriers in closer. That means they're going to be dropping more often. So think about something like a Saipan, who might be at the back of the map and take time to get back to you. You're no longer going to have that time. It's going to be 3 drops, followed by immediate another 3 drops, followed by an immediate another 3 drops.
That shot is so consistent.
Because you didn't want to be spotted and you cried about spotting. This is what you're going to get. Because they're going to have more speed, because they're not going to have a cooldown to that speed. They're going to be able to dodge AA more effectively, which means the actual AA ships in the game are going to have a harder time shooting them down. So you've just created a plague with CVs, because you wished for something and you didn't realize what you were asking for. Like it's like the genie. When you ask for one thing and then, they do something sinister with your wish. Like, this is what it is. So yeah, it's carriers are going to be broken. They're going to be broken as far as damaged machines. And rather than nerf them anymore, like, this is so bad as far as what carriers doctrinally do. It's almost disgusting, and that's why it makes me a little angry. It goes so far against what a carrier's purpose is in a naval warfare group. To take away their spotting for the team, to take away their ability to observe and reconnoiter the enemy. Like, that is so far against what they do doctrinally. To force them into close range fights. And they're going to come out of it broken. And just absolute DPM monsters. And rather than, nerf them any further because people want to cry and whine about it, let's fix the AA in the game wargaming. Let's make it to where the AA actually tracks no matter how fast somebody's going. Let's make it to where there is enough AA. There is ample AA. I'd rather see you err on the side of too much AA. Wow. And let carriers figure out how to deal with that. Then do this crap. This is nonsense. Like, again, let's go look at it. That first line right there. That is the purpose of a carrier. That is doctrinally what they're supposed to do. And you've taken away all of that. Because you don't want to deal with your AA, your broken AA. You don't want to prioritize AA ships into carrier games. You don't want to add AA to ships that just don't have it. To ships that just don't have enough. And it's massive. It's not just, there's almost no AA at Tier 3. Tier 3 ships are so vulnerable to carriers that you literally have people, to improve their win rate, go sit in Tier 3 carriers and just farm people who can't defend themselves. Because why wouldn't you if you want to pad your win rate? That's a great idea. But let's go take a look at some other stuff here. Let's take a look at Tier 5. So we'll start with the battleships since they're already up. So we have the freak show, that's California. And then it drops off. And once you get to about here, these guys all have a hard time defending themselves. This whole chunk down here. So you have what? 2, 3, 4 ships. You have one that's a freak show, and then you have 3 ships that are somewhat decent, and then you have how many that are just absolute, look at Mackinson with 48, and you wonder why people complain about CVs. What is a Mackinson going to do in a CV match? Get farmed. That's it. Fix that. Rather than take away what carriers do doctrinally, fix that. I don't care what's historical on a Mackinson. Because you're talking about let's change everything fundamentally for the balancing. So why not change that for the balancing? How does it make sense to take away what a ship does doctrinally? That's like, let's take all the armor and the guns off a battleship. Let's give it 10 millimeter armor and, 4 127 guns. But we're going to call it a battleship. That fundamentally changes what it does doctrinally. Right? It's basically a giant DD at that point. With horrible concealment and speed. It doesn't make sense to balance the game by changing a class fundamentally to where it is no longer doctrinally effective. That's stupid. And I'm sorry if I'm calling you dumb. I'm not calling you dumb. I'm calling the premise of that dumb. That's stupid. It's dumb. It's dumb. Like, there was other ways to deal with the CV problem, and we chose to avoid all those. I don't know why you choose to avoid the AA issue. And I've talked about it over and over and over and over again. And for some reason, we completely choose to avoid it. So let's look at the cruisers. So we have Pensacola, the one decent AA cruiser at the tier. And then it drops off again. So we have these couple guys up here that are capable of defending themselves. And then we have a whole slew of people that aren't. DeGrasse with 41. What's a DeGrasse doing in a CV match? Like, if you want to keep it this way with just garbage AA at every tier there's a carrier, then prioritize it to where these ships are the ones in carrier matches and these ships don't. I don't know. That might be a way to deal with the carrier plague, right? Might be. It might be a slightly smarter way to deal with it than doctrinally neutering an entire class of ship. DDs. Tier 5. Again, we have 3 ships that are somewhat capable of defending themselves, and then everybody else is just absolutely fucked. Like, look at this. 4 AA on these 3 ships. What are they doing in a CV match? Right? Right? We can't fix that. We can't up their AA a little bit. Because it wouldn't be historically accurate. Well, it's not historically accurate that carriers can't spot. It's not historically accurate that carriers are like, oh, there's a surface group. Let's go charging in. But that's okay because everyone hates CVs, right? That's cool. We're just going to do that. All right, let's go take a look at tier 7s. So here's the DDs at tier 7. We have the freak show that's Friesland. Then we have a couple that are capable of defending themselves, and then a whole bunch that aren't. Look at all those ships that just don't have a chance in a CV match. Like, going against the Saipan. What are these guys doing besides getting bombed and torpedoed? But let's not fix that. Let's change what carriers do fundamentally to somehow fix the problem. And all you've done is made carriers DPS monsters. So, like, these guys that can't defend themselves, all these ships that I've showed you that can't defend themselves are only going to struggle that much harder against carriers. No. The fact that they can't get spotted now and the team can't do nothing to them, it doesn't matter because fundamentally they still can't defend themselves against a carrier. Like, come on. And if they steal it from you in corner, you've made carriers stronger in like 1v1 and taken away their utility, and like that's somehow a fix to the carrier problem. No, you've just made it a lot worse, is what you've done. Because you don't want to address AA for some reason. So here we go. Battleships. Again, we have some strong ones up here, and then we have a whole bunch that are just going to struggle. Awesome. Awesome. This is what we do right here. Cruisers. We've got the one freak show. Couple that are decent at defending themselves, and then a whole bunch that can't. How does making it to where when the carrier's over the top of them, the team can't shoot at them, gonna help them defend themselves against the carrier? How is this Suzia defending itself against the Saipan? Just dodge, right? That's the answer. With no AA whatsoever. 67 AA at tier 7 going against Saipan, Pobita, Parsival. That makes no sense to me. Like, you won't address that, but you'll do this crap to carriers. Why? That is so far removed from the solution to the problem. Like, you've just made it worse. For the ships that don't have AA, you've just made it 10 times worse. And people think this is some kind of solution because they can't be shot at by the carrier's teammates when the carrier spots them. But now they can be absolutely farmed by the carrier. And let's get into it further, how the carrier is going to farm them. Because not only is it going to be closer, so it's going to be coming back faster. Not only is it going to have, you know, more flights available because of the way you're changing that mechanic. But this right here, Squadron speed. Again, back at the beginning of the video, I said this is the cheat code. And anybody that is decent at CVs knows the faster your planes are, the harder the AA in the game has a time of tracking them. Well, if you're making planes faster and you're taking away the cooldown that would slow them down, you've just made a lot of planes invulnerable because the AA in the game is broken. Again, that's the whole premise of this. And, you know, you had people cry and whine about what they wanted for CVs without having a clue because they don't play CVs, they don't play AA ships. So you're listening to people that you shouldn't be listening to, Wargaming, about how to address the issue with CVs and how to balance them within the game. You've made them broken, and I hope rather than just nerf them further, you deal with the AA. That is how you balance the game with carriers. The ships in tier 3 that have 0 AA, you give them AA. The ships that have weak AA, you give them stronger AA. And you give ships enough AA to defend themselves. A carrier should not be able to get more than one drop on any ship in this game that has its full AA complement without losing all its planes. That's how you balance that. You make the carrier make the choice of do I want to go drop this person and lose my squadron? But you don't. For some reason, you know, most of 50 to 75% of the ships at each tier have extremely weak AA. They can't even defend themselves, and that's somehow okay, and then carriers are the problem. It's not carriers that are the problem, it's the lack of AA. It's the broken AA. It's the fact AA doesn't track fast planes. So, if we want to break the game, what we're going to do is the following. So, yeah. See Starscream here. German Transformer Commander. Transformers are coming back. You'll be able to get Starscream. Look at the base trait. What do? We take planes that they're already buffing so they're faster. They don't have a cooldown to the speed now, so you can just stay at top speed indefinitely. And we make them even faster because that's how we avoid AA. Then you're going to go into your build. You're going to take any kind of perks that are going to increase your speed. Like right there. Make them even faster. Because the faster you are, the harder time the AA in-game has tracking you. See how that works? Now, there are some techniques. If you're interested in those techniques to fully exploit the speed thing, there's videos out there on that. So I'm not going to get too much into it. I'm just pointing out that in an effort to deal with carrier issues, we've just made them 10 times worse. Saipan will be absolutely farming people. And there's nothing they can do about it. Because we didn't want to deal with AA and we wanted to do what we did with carriers. We wanted to take away what carriers do doctrinally. In an effort to nerf them. This is, you know, there's a couple people that are making videos on this stuff that have made videos this week, and they're leading the entire herd astray, talking about how wonderful these changes are. These changes are not wonderful. To take an entire class, and again, you don't take a battleship, you don't strip it of its armor down to 10 millimeters, take its guns, turn them into, you know, 4 127s like what would be on a DD, and be like, oh, that's how we deal with, you know, nerfing battleships. Because that fundamentally, doctrinally changes what that class of ship does. You don't take DDs and give them, you know, 12 kilometers of concealment, rip the torps off of them, put giant guns, slow them down, up armor them. Because that doctrinally changes what they do. And what they bring to a team. All you've done is turn carriers straight into damage farmers. Like, it doesn't... It's not going to stop them from farming people. The way to stop them from farming people would be AA. Give people a way to defend themselves from carriers. And there's ways to deal with AA. You know, that's a team effort. You know, like a California, you have to have the team firing HE at the California to cook it off so the carrier can get to it. And that's part of the team play aspect. So yeah, I fundamentally disagree with most of these changes. Like I said, the big three for me are the spotting, because again, we go back and that is something that carriers are primarily meant to do. It was one of the first, when naval aviation first became a thing, it was the first thing they were used for, was observation and reconnaissance. It is a primary function of carriers. So to completely remove that, you know, and again, go back to the whole radar thing. And we're making really stupid choices to appease groups that want to be able to go out and just run wild. People don't want to be spotted by a carrier because they want to, you know, take their stealth build and go sneak around and dev strike people. Well, that's too bad. That's too bad. Get some AA. Like, you know, the radar cruiser thing. Again, like, we're going to make it to where a sub 5 kilometer concealment DD can instantly spot me and have me deleted by his team, but I can't radar him and have him instantly deleted by my team, to appease the DD players that play sub 5 kilometer, you know, IJN DDs. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to, like, keep appeasing. And the people that are asking for these changes don't play the classes that are affected by it. The people that, you know, there's one person in particular I can think of that asked exactly for every change you've made here. They put out a video on how pleased as punch they are that you've gone and done this. They don't play carriers. They don't play AA ships. So why did we do exactly what they said instead of your AA players and your carrier players? If you would have asked them what needed to be done to bring carriers in line with the rest of this game, none of this crap would have been the answer. Are there things that can be done that are going to keep carriers doing this? This right here? Yeah. AA. Fixing the AA in the game would have done a lot for that. But instead we get this absolute hot fucking trash is what we get. I appreciate it. That's all I have for you. I'll catch you next time, fellow captains. Good hunting. Fair seas. Take care. Bye.